A common sight in colonial formations during the First Cylon War, the Artemis class was a light battlestar. The design proved popular with its crews and colonial fleet command alike, understandable given its effective balance between speed, firepower, and protection. The Artemis was small for its time, fitting in between the larger battlestars and smaller cruiser-grade ships. The class was armed with 4 heavy turrets, 8 artillery mounts, and 6 point defense turrets, as well as multiple munitions and ordnance launchers. Armor was respectable, while the ship's speed and agility were better than expected for a vessel of its size. The Artemis also embarked 2 squadrons of fighters, or Raptors, as well as numerous shuttles, as the situation called for. The Artemis was developed and entered service in the early years of the First Cylon War as a means for the colonial fleet to quickly grow its numbers and affordably replace combat losses. At the time, much of the pre-war fleets of the 12 colonies was quickly being lost to the rapid Cylon advances, and the first designs of the unified colonial fleet were proving too expensive to risk in every single battle that humanity found itself embroiled in across settled space. What was needed was a smaller, and thus more affordable, derivative design which took the best elements of the proper battlestars, such as the Minerva or Jupiter classes, but which could be built faster and in smaller yards than a larger design, and which could be risked in secondary fronts or to bolster existing battlestar formations. As a result of this, the ship did have several compromises in its design versus other ships. For starters, the Artemis's armament had somewhat limited arcs of fire, with the ship's main artillery only capable of firing at targets directly above due to their placement. Limited magazine space and cramped fighter storage were also issues which afflicted the vessels. The Artemis would give good service throughout the war. As mentioned earlier, the ships would prove popular with both crews and the Admiralty alike, appreciating the ships for their good all-around qualities and fine capabilities. Members of the class would find themselves present for nearly every squadron level and above action of the war from the midpoint of the conflict onwards. Basically, as soon as they entered service, they were in the thick of it. Although the class would take high losses, in many cases the ship being overwhelmed by superior enemy vessels which swarmed her, the Artemis class would remain in production even into the interwar, albeit briefly, before the 12 colonies began cutting back military spending to more sustainable levels. During the interwar, the class would gradually be brought out of service as the fleet was downsized and new ships were introduced into service. By the time of the outbreak of the Second War, only half a dozen ships would still be in service, and all of these vessels would be quickly destroyed by the opening Cylon attack. Although not the most capable battlestar design of the war, the Artemis would give good service throughout the conflict, and would continue to see service even after the conclusion of the First Cylon War. The design proved solid and well built, and despite their losses would be well liked and very capable ships throughout their service. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, drop a comment about generally what you think about Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. I remember when that game came out, it was very, very big, and then it just kind of petered out, so anybody still play it? I've given it a go a time or two, but I've never got super into it, except for the lore perspective, but hey, big ships, so I'm gonna enjoy it. So let me know if you still play that game in the comments below. Also, I have a Patreon. If you want to support the channel, you can do that. It's linked down below. I actually just changed around some descriptions for the different Patreon tiers to make it a little bit more clear what you're getting. So check it out. It's like $1 a month. You get videos a day in advance. Also, feel free to drop any suggestions for ships you would like the channel to review in future. I've got a few of those. Might as well continue. I've got a list somewhere. It could always use more. So, yeah. Do those things. And, have a nice day, I guess. Regardless of whether you do those things or not.